Hi everyone, I am Julie and the topic of today's video is how to build effective habits. Specifically, I will share with you what tips and tricks made the most difference for me personally over the last 5 to 7 years as I went on a journey of building quite a lot of good habits and also getting rid of a number of habits that I didn't really want to have as part of my life. Now, I'm not claiming that I'm perfect in any way. We're all humans and I still have plenty of room to grow. But as I reflect on it, I can see that I have been able to build some really good habits that a lot of people try to and often struggle with. And I thought I could share some of the actions and mindsets that I employed from all the reading and watching and exploring this topic over the years that have really made a difference for me and allowed me to build habits like regular yoga practice, daily meditation, regular exercise, running, healthy eating, giving up coffee, and a whole bunch of other changes that I made to my life that I can see really made a positive difference over time. All right, now on to the tips and tools and tricks. Let's start with number one, and that is start with just one habit. I know this may seem like it's going to slow you down. And I know that as human beings, we are so excitable that we may get so inspired and want to completely overhaul our lifestyle and do all these 10 things at once, start meditating, doing yoga, exercising, having a healthy diet, giving up alcohol, and all those things. You are going to fail if you start doing all those things at once. Build a habit and only then move on to the next one. I know you may feel like this is going to be a really slow process. I guarantee you, though, that this is going to be a far, far more effective one than if you try to do all those 10 things at once. We really overestimate what we can do in a day, but we really underestimate what we can achieve in a year. And I guarantee you that 12 months down the track, if you do this one by one and you do all these other things that help you along the way, you're going to notice that you have created a bunch of really, really positive habits. And the thing is, if you try to do everything at once, you're going to be excited about it for a week, maybe two, maybe three, but you will eventually give it up because it is going to be really overwhelming for your brain. The reason why we want to build a habit is to make sure that we don't need to work too hard at it, to make it something that's automatic, something that's part of us. Until it becomes that, it requires quite a lot of mental energy for us to be able to perform that action, or on the contrary, not to perform that action if that's a habit that we're trying to break instead. So overloading yourself with 10 or how many things you're trying to do is only going to lead you to feeling overwhelmed with this. The other element of this is, in order for us to build a positive habit, or again break another habit, is we need to create new neural pathways in our brain, those positive reinforcement loops. When we do something, we feel good about it, it leads us to come back and back and back. When we overwhelm ourselves with many habits that we're trying to build, we inevitably will miss one, we're probably going to have a break, we won't be able to achieve them all. And instead of creating those positive loops, we're actually going to create negative reinforcements in our brain where we may actually feel negative about the habits we're trying to build. And that is absolutely not something that we want to encourage there. Now, how long does it take to build a habit? I know there's been some of, I think it was been quite prolific, the information that it takes 21 days to build a habit. I don't know if you're going to be sad to find out or happy to find out that that is actually not true. And the reason being is because all habits are different in complexity. If you're trying to create a habit that is really small and quite easy and simple, it's likely that it may not take even 21 days. It may even be shorter for you to make it into a habit. If it is something that is quite complex and challenging and difficult and something that is really completely out of your comfort zone, it is likely to take longer than 21 days. So you really will need to get a feel for it and understand, is this something that you're still thinking about proactively, or has this become part of you? Only when it becomes part of you and something that you do as part of your life without really thinking about it, only then you can move on to start building another habit. Number two, start really, really, really small. I can't emphasize this enough. My whole mantra, and I think one of the most important mindsets that I had to adapt that really helped me, was the saying, something is better than nothing. For example, when I wanted to build a daily yoga practice, I started with doing a child's pose and a plank. And I did that for a couple of weeks. This whole thing probably only took me 3 minutes. And you may listen to this and be like, well, what difference does this really make? But it started to create those mental loops in my brain. I started to feel good about what I was doing. But on the other side, it was so easy for me that it was almost embarrassing not to do it. And then over time, I built it to a practice that usually lasts me about 20 minutes. Sometimes I do it for longer, but ultimately, starting really small is what leads to success. What we often do is we compare, for example, the benefits of practicing yoga daily for 5 minutes with the benefits of practicing yoga for 30 minutes. And of course, it's more beneficial to do the 30-minute class. But in reality, what happens in life is that we're actually choosing between practicing for 5 minutes and not doing anything at all. And small actions, however small, make a bigger difference than no action at all. And I want you to make this your mantra. If you want to build any kind of habit, start really small and allow yourself to succeed. This is where setting stretch goals is only likely to set you up for failure. Taking some action is better than having a perfect action that you never take. Number three, set up your environment. Using your willpower is overrated. So create an environment that allows you not to rely on your willpower at all. If you want to stop eating sweets, don't make them available at home. Yes, you may still go to the shop or order them from Uber Eats. However, you have set up yourself a barrier to entry, and most likely you're going to do this a lot less frequently than if you had all these chocolates lying around your house. You want to start exercising, build it into your routine, add it to your calendar like as if it's a meeting, something that you don't need to think about and wake up every morning and think, when I'm gonna fit this in, where are my running shoes, where I'm gonna go. Plan ahead, lay out your sports clothes so that, again, you wake up, you see it straight away. An adjacent tip to setting up your environment is look at ways of anchoring your habit. What I mean by that is try to attach the new habit to an old habit that you already have. For example, everybody, I hope that everybody, brushes their teeth twice a day. One of the things that I wanted to do a few years ago was to establish a regular gratitude practice. So I used to put my gratitude journal next to my toothbrush. And in the evening, after I finished brushing my teeth, I would pick up my journal and then go and sit down and write in my journal every day. What I did is I anchored my new habit of writing in the gratitude journal to the already existing habit, so that again I create and I set up the environment that's easier for me to do this habit without having to think about it. If I hide my journal somewhere where I can't even see it and I don't think about when I'm going to use it, it's likely that it's going to lie there for weeks until I remember about it again. So think about if you can anchor any of your habits to the habits that you already have. Fourth tip that I have, and this is the second last for me, is plan for the less than optimal scenarios. This is a practice of mental contrasting when we think about what is going to be our response when we are put in the environment and circumstances where we are really tempted. As humans, we tend to think overly optimistically, and typically we think about, okay, I'm going to exercise then, I'm going to do this one, I'm going to meditate. but we typically fail to allow for the times when the circumstances are such that it is a lot harder for us to do those things. So, in order for us to increase the chances of us being successful with our habits, we need to think about those things proactively, and even better, write down what our actions going to be in those situations. For example, let's assume I am trying to give up sugar. So I set up my environment at home in a way that I don't have any sugary products at all. But this Friday, I am invited to my friend's birthday party where I know there are going to be a lot of sweet treats. If I don't think about my response in advance, I'm a lot more likely to give in to those treats in the moment. But the research has shown that if I sit down and think about it in advance, and I think, if I'm in a situation where there are cakes being given out to everybody, I'm going to respond with, no, thank you, I'm just going to have a cup of tea. I'm way more likely to stick to my habit. Equally, if, I don't know, you're giving up alcohol and you've been invited to your friend's special occasion at a bar, perhaps ahead of the time you're going to look at the menu and see what non-alcoholic options you may be able to order. And hopefully there will be some healthier ones that don't just include sugary soft drinks. And my final tool and recommendation that is incredibly important is forgive yourself when you slip up. Please, please, please don't beat yourself up. Building a habit means that this is a process. This is a lifelong journey, something that you want to have as part of your life for a considerable amount of time. That also means that you will inevitably sometimes slip up. And what research shows us is it's really important that we don't dwell on it. I can never pronounce this word in English. Basically, don't overthink it. Don't overanalyze why that happened. Why did you do this? Yes, maybe you need to do mental contrasting for the future so that this doesn't happen in the future. But we don't want to be creating those negative associations in our brain. The way I like to think about it is I imagine myself as this sort of person running really fast through something, and there are lots and lots of obstacles on my way, and I fall down a lot of the times, but then I get up and I keep running. And this is how I tend to think about when I break my habit, I skip my habit, I don't do something for some time. I know that what matters is what we do on a consistent basis rather than what we do once in a while. What matters is that you don't allow this to be a consistent thing. And if it's something that you do once in a while, it's actually okay. It's completely fine. And it's probably unrealistic of yourself to expect that you never ever break any habits. Be so kind and compassionate to yourself and think about, what would you say to a friend who said, oh man, I missed 2 days of exercise? We'll just say, well, start again. Like, do it today. Do it right now. Don't put it off. Don't turn it into something that lasts for weeks, but also don't beat yourself up. And that is my last tip. As a recap, we've covered start with one habit only, start really small and create a low barrier to entry, set up your environment and plan for when your environment is less than optimal. And last but certainly not least is do not beat yourself up. Thank you for watching this video. I hope that there were some takeaways for you that are useful, and good luck building wonderful habits that help create a better life for yourself. Thanks again, and bye-bye.